On the Birth of Venus by Sandro Botticelli. The subject of today's episode is regarded as one of the most famous and iconic works of art of the Italian Renaissance, created by Italian artist Sandro Botticelli. I'm talking about the iconic painting, The Birth of Venus, one of the most famous artworks in the world today. Let us discuss the painting with the help of a few questions. Question 1. Who was Sandro Botticelli? Sandro Botticelli, whose full name was Alessandro di Mariano di Vanni Filippi, was an Italian painter of the early Renaissance period. He was born in the mid-15th century, around 1445, in Florence, Italy, and died on May 17, 1510. Botticelli is known for his distinctive style characterized by graceful figures, flowing lines, and a sense of poetic elegance. Botticelli's most famous works include The Birth of Venus and Primavera. The Birth of Venus depicts the goddess Venus emerging from the sea, standing on a shell, and being blown towards the shore by Zephyr, the god of the west wind. Primavera is an allegorical painting featuring various mythological figures in a garden setting. Botticelli's art often drew from classical mythology and literature, and his work reflects the humanist ideals of the Renaissance, emphasizing the beauty and significance of the individual. He was influenced by his contemporaries, including fellow Florentine artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, as well as the artistic techniques of the time. However, it's worth noting that Botticelli's fame declined after his death, and his works were somewhat forgotten until the 19th century when there was a renewed interest in Renaissance art. Today, he is considered one of the great masters of the Italian Renaissance, known for his contribution to the development of artistic techniques and his unique interpretation of classical themes. Question 2. What is The Birth of Venus? The Birth of Venus is a famous painting by the Italian Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. Created around 1484 to 1486, it is one of his most iconic works and a prime example of Renaissance art. The painting depicts the goddess Venus, also known as Aphrodite in Greek mythology, emerging from the sea on a scallop shell. The composition is imbued with symbolism and draws inspiration from classical mythology. In the painting, Venus is shown standing gracefully on a large shell, symbolizing her birth from the sea foam. She is being blown towards the shore by Zephyr, the god of the west wind, and accompanied by a nymph named Chloris. As Venus arrives on land, she is met by a figure traditionally identified as Aura, a personification of the season of spring, who is ready to clothe her. Botticelli's portrayal of Venus is characterized by her idealized beauty, delicate features, and ethereal presence. The painting's composition and the flowing lines of the figure's poses contribute to a sense of elegance and movement. The Birth of Venus is known for its graceful depiction of the human form, the use of soft colors, and the integration of classical mythology into Renaissance art. It reflects the humanist ideals of the time, celebrating the beauty of the human body and the revival of ancient knowledge and culture. Question 3. What does the painting depict? The Birth of Venus by Botticelli depicts the goddess Venus, Aphrodite in Greek mythology, emerging from the sea. The painting is rich in symbolism and draws from classical mythology. At the center of the composition stands Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. She is portrayed as a young and idealized woman with delicate features. Her body is positioned in a contrapposto pose, weight shift, that adds to the graceful and naturalistic feel of the figure. Venus is nude, signifying her purity and birth from the sea foam. She stands on a large scallop shell, her hands modestly covering her private parts. To the left of Venus, a figure representing Zephyr, the god of the west wind, blows gently to guide Venus to the shore. Zephyr's presence adds a sense of movement to the composition as he creates a breeze that carries Venus toward land. Beside Zephyr, a nymph named Chloris, also known as Flora, appears to be waiting for Venus on the shore. Chloris is traditionally associated with the coming of spring, and her presence emphasizes the connection between Venus's birth and the renewal of nature. On the right side of the painting, a figure often identified as Aura, a personification of the season of spring, waits to receive Venus on land. Aura holds a richly decorated cloak or fabric, ready to drape it around Venus's body. The painting is surrounded by symbols of love and beauty. Roses, often associated with Venus, are scattered around the ground. The orange grove in the background symbolizes fertility and abundance. The sea is calm and serene, suggesting the divine nature of Venus's birth. Overall, the birth of Venus encapsulates the ideals of the Renaissance period, celebrating classical mythology, the beauty of the human form, and the harmony between nature and the divine. The painting's composition, use of color, and graceful figures contribute to its enduring appeal and significance in the art world. Question 4. For whom was the Birth of Venus made? The Birth of Venus by Botticelli was likely commissioned by a member of the wealthy and influential Medici family in Florence, Italy. Specifically, it is believed that the painting was commissioned by Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco de' Medici, who was a cousin of Lorenzo the Magnificent, a prominent patron of the arts. Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco de' Medici was a humanist scholar and art enthusiast. He likely requested the painting as a decorative piece for his villa, Villa di Castello, which was located just outside Florence. The painting's subject matter, depicting the goddess of love and beauty emerging from the sea, aligns with the humanist interests of the time and the Medici family's appreciation for classical mythology and culture. It's important to note that while it's widely believed that the painting was commissioned for Lorenzo di Pierfrancesco de' Medici, there is some debate among art historians about the exact details of the commission and the intended purpose of the artwork. Question 5. What makes the painting unique? The Birth of Venus by Botticelli is considered unique and remarkable for several reasons. The painting draws from classical mythology, depicting the birth of the goddess Venus, Aphrodite in Greek mythology, from the sea foam. This subject matter was relatively unconventional for its time, as it focused on a mythological theme rather than a religious or historical one. The painting reflects the humanist ideals of the Renaissance period. It celebrates the beauty of the human form, emphasizes the connection between humanity and the divine, and showcases a revival of interest in classical mythology and culture. Botticelli's style in The Birth of Venus is characterized by graceful figures, flowing lines, and a sense of poetic elegance. The figures' poses and the overall composition create a sense of movement and harmony, contributing to the painting's aesthetic appeal. The painting is rich in symbolism. The scallop shell on which Venus stands symbolizes her birth, and the breeze created by Zephyr alludes to her arrival on land. The orange grove in the background and the flowers on the ground symbolizes fertility and growth, while the sea represents the divine origin of Venus. The pose of Venus, known as contrapposto, is a hallmark of Renaissance art. This naturalistic stance, where the weight of the body is shifted to one leg, creates a sense of balance and realism, contributing to the lifelike quality of the figure. Botticelli's use of a soft and muted color palette contributes to the painting's ethereal and dreamlike quality. The subtle interplay of colors enhances the sense of harmony and beauty in the artwork. The Birth of Venus stands as a masterpiece that encapsulates the artistic and cultural values of the Italian Renaissance while remaining a timeless and iconic representation of beauty, grace, and mythological storytelling. Question 6. What techniques did Botticelli use to paint The Birth of Venus? Sandro Botticelli employed several artistic techniques and methods to paint The Birth of Venus. While the exact details of his process might not be fully documented, art historians have analyzed the painting to discern some of the techniques he likely utilized. Botticelli likely started by creating a preliminary underdrawing on the canvas. This underdrawing provided the basic outlines and composition for the painting. During the Renaissance, tempera paint was a common medium. It is made by mixing pigments with a water-soluble binder, often egg yolk. Tempera allows for fine detail and intricate brushwork. Botticelli's technique involved applying multiple layers of paint. He would start with a monochromatic underpainting, often in shades of gray or brown, to establish forms and shading. After the underpainting, he likely applied thin glazes of color to build up the hues and tones. This layering technique allowed for a luminous quality and depth in the colors. Botticelli employed a type of sfumato, a technique developed by artists like Leonardo da Vinci. Sfumato involves subtly blending colors and tones to create soft transitions between shapes and to give a sense of three-dimensionality. Botticelli used fine brushes to create delicate details, especially in the rendering of the figure's hair, skin, and drapery. His brushwork added texture and refined the surfaces of the forms. He employed the contrapposto pose, where the weight of the body is shifted to one leg, creating a more natural and lifelike posture. This technique, borrowed from classical sculpture, adds a sense of dynamism and realism to the figures. Botticelli employed linear perspective to create a sense of depth in the painting. He also carefully considered proportions to maintain a harmonious balance between the figures and the landscape. Botticelli's attention to intricate details, such as the delicate rendering of the figure's features and the meticulous rendering of textiles, contributes to the painting's overall sense of refinement. These techniques collectively contributed to the unique and timeless quality of The Birth of Venus. Question 7. Where is the painting located today? The Birth of Venus by Botticelli is currently housed in the Uffizi Gallery, Galleria degli Uffizi, in Florence, Italy. The Uffizi Gallery is one of the most renowned art museums in the world and is home to an extensive collection of artworks, including many masterpieces from the Italian Renaissance. The painting can be found in room 10 of the Uffizi Gallery, where it is displayed alongside other important works of art from the same period. The Birth of Venus is a highlight of the museum's collection and is admired by visitors from around the globe for its beauty, symbolism, and historical significance. Question 8. What is the legacy of The Birth of Venus today? The Birth of Venus by Botticelli has left a profound and enduring legacy in the world of art and culture. Its impact can be seen in various aspects. Botticelli's innovative techniques, such as his use of graceful figures, flowing lines, and delicate colors, have inspired generations of artists. His style has left an indelible mark on the development of Western art, influencing painters, sculptors, and creators across different periods. The painting has become a cultural icon, recognized by people around the world. Its depiction of Venus emerging from the sea is instantly recognizable and has been reproduced and referenced in various forms of media, including literature, film, advertising, and fashion. The Birth of Venus is considered a masterpiece of the Italian Renaissance and a quintessential example of the period's ideals and aesthetics. It continues to be studied by art historians and scholars as a representation of the Renaissance's humanist values, artistic techniques, and connection to classical mythology. The Uffizi Gallery in Florence, where the painting is housed, is a major tourist attraction. Visitors from around the world come to see The Birth of Venus and other renowned artworks in the museum's collection, contributing to the cultural and economic vitality of the city. The painting's depiction of Venus as the embodiment of beauty and love has made it an enduring symbol of these qualities. It has been used as a symbol in discussions about beauty standards, the representation of femininity, and the power of art to convey ideals. The painting is often featured in academic curricula and art education programs as a case study in art history classes. Its significance and techniques are studied to provide insights into Renaissance art and cultural contexts. Beyond its artistic merit, The Birth of Venus provides a glimpse into the cultural and historical context of the Renaissance period, including the revival of classical themes, the exploration of humanist ideals, and the interplay between mythology and visual representation. The Birth of Venus continues to captivate and inspire audiences today, standing as a testament to the enduring power of art to transcend time and culture.